others. I think we're stuck with whatever the language says. I 100% agree with you, and we'll find out from our legal opinion what it does. Thank you.
Yeah, I don't think there's any disagreement there that
No.
needs to be within what the ballot verbiage was.
Lenny Scaletta, 2025 31st Avenue in Council Bluffs. All I'm concerned about is the credibility, and you guys said you're going to take it, you're going to have the attorneys looking at it, because you just got to keep the credibility, and that's my concern, because if you don't, and you go to get another tax, and the people are going to say, well, what did you do with the other money? You see how this can get out of hand. I'm just asking for just to do what you're doing, just make it nice and clear, so everybody's happy about it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Jeff Jorgensen, 201 Shady Circle. We're talking about a flood zone, I understand. And what's there to stop the federal government from declaring a flood zone, whether those levees are repaired or not? Is there some kind of guarantee that once this work is done, that we'll be in the clear as far as
The only thing I can tell you for sure, Jeff, and that's, with the government, it's pretty hard
Exactly
to do,
right.
but the only thing I can tell you for sure is that if that levee gets decertified, they will be in the flood. So,
But there's no way to get a guarantee that if those
that they
levees
won't
are
be.
repaired. Okay.
No, we're at the mercy of the federal government in that respect, and I imagine what many of us, probably all of us, would think in this regard, and unfortunately, we can't make a promise we can't
Assumed
keep.
by the long history of not being in the flood zone that they probably wouldn't be if the levees do get recertified, but
I would think that the Congress people would want to get reelected, so I highly doubt they're going to render the vast majority of the country ineligible or require massive increases in flood insurance. I just defy common sense.
I hate to surprise you, but FEMA is in that exact process right now. They are adding cities as fast as they can.
I agree, and Congress, fortunately, bipartisan basis, I might add,
I was just going to say, and
I hope it succeeds.
not only cities, I'm, as many of you know, was a banker by trade. I had a 1994 mortgage loan to somebody on State Orchard Road who never was in the flood zone until this year. And so they just picked them and put them in the flood zone. There are little pony creeks out there, so there's some potential. When I called the guy to tell him, he says, I get it. FEMA's short of money and they're trying to generate money.
Exactly right. Also, in this endeavor, you might be looking for a partner. Would it behoove the gambling industry to maybe help out on this process? Just throwing it out there, brainstorming. And also, we've got some scrap iron on a bridge that we might be able to as a down payment for the first.
If we don't get the levee fixed, we may need to climb to the top of that.
And all kidding aside, there is the industrial levy down there, of which I believe Ameristar and Warren Distribution and perhaps a few other folks, who the vast majority of that is privately paid for. Those businesses, for-profit companies, of course, good for them. They do pay for that section. I mean, we pay for some of the integration into the city system, because if that fails, the folks in Fox Run are going to be underwater. So to a certain degree, we pay. But they do pay a disproportionate share, and I agree with you, they should.
Any other discussion?
I guess one final thing would be, piggybacking upon your comments, Mr. Watson, about we have a number of bad options to consider, and this is hard work, and that's the point of my concern, is that we provide a level of clarity to the taxpayers, and they understand exactly what it is that we're proposing to do with the taxes that they're paying for. And so that's the reason for my concern, and I think putting this to them will help them understand the gravity of the situation that this city faces as a whole, not just city government, but that the city faces as a whole. And we owe it to the taxpayers, I think, to have that level of understanding and that level of consent. And having said that, just note that we're in the process of a sewer rate study, so we will be able to revisit this issue again.
Well, in this small government, municipal government, our number one duty is to protect our citizens, which is to provide police and fire. And this certainly falls under that protection threshold. And I mentioned the Biggers Waters earlier, if you can imagine that by law, federal law, if you have a mortgage, you're required to have flood insurance. If your flood insurance exceeds your mortgage, your home has no value. And so literally, 68% or whatever of the city that lies west of 8th Street, value, they could effectively argue that they shouldn't be taxed because their home has no value, and so we really need to protect those people, protect their life investment in their own home. So
Right. That would be a bigger tragedy.
Yeah. And blame, if blame needs to be cast, blame it particularly on the Gulf Coast area where we as federal taxpayers have paid to rebuild some very elaborate vacation, and I put vacation in quotes because they're very much nicer than most of us have as our only home. Homes on the coast that you and I rebuilt 3 or 4 times in a decade. They painted with a very wide brush, Congress did, and suddenly decided everybody should pay market value. The sins of a few affect many of us, and like Councilman Ringberg said, there is the FEMA is trying to come up with some, in my opinion, very massively overdone regulations, but Congress appears to, again, if nothing else for self-interest, appears ready to fix that. And I encourage you to write to them to do, otherwise, the mayor said you're going to be paying more in your flood insurance than your mortgage. I don't know how people can or be able to afford to keep their house.
okay, and then I'm going to do one housekeeping deal that's maybe a little out of order. Did you want to make an amendment tonight? Do you want to wait till next time to tie those 2 chapters together?
We'll wait for Dick to do that.
Let's wait till next time.
Okay.
We'll cover that.
All right, and then the motion was to set for public hearing on July 23rd, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those same sign.
Nay.
Resolutions, Resolution 14-159, authorizing the mayor to execute an order accepting the acknowledgement settlement agreement from Elks Lodge voluntarily surrendering their tobacco license in the state of Iowa.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any discussion on this? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those same sign.
Resolution 14-160, expressing the endorsement of the Mid-City Trail Phase 2 project by the mayor and the city council of Councilmorris, Iowa. Motion to approve.
Second.
Discussion.
During the study session this afternoon, I just asked for some clarification on what the total city share of this whole project will be over multiple fiscal years. And it added up to, if I got my math here in public correct, $453 million. $1,000. That's
We were just talking big numbers, so.
That would be a fantastic trip.
Dave did all.
A little less than.
We could
little less than
find
a
money
million.
for the levies.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Kelly Hoxteller. I'm at 105 Chevy Drive. I have concerns with increasing the trail when most of the trails are not upkept. They're in bad shape from I'm nervous, sorry. From the apartments on Valley View all the way to around Iowa School for the Deaf, around Manawa, all the way to where it hits Google. Half of it needs resurfaced. There's divots, there's cracks. I have 3 flat tires so far. I mean, it needs to be fixed before we extend the trail system, I feel. I mean, I'm all for it, but we need to fix what we have.
Part of it too is that literally people have to ride their bike or walk it in the street under, overpasses. But you raise a really good point. And this would allow them to at least get off the road. So that's what today's money is about.
We'll look at it. This is matching money for a new trail extension, so that's kind of part of it. We can't use the match to repair existing, but you're right, we need to develop an infrastructure and you need to maintain it. It's a point well made.
Yeah, thank you for the information, because I don't ride the trail at my Valley View, so I would not have known that.
I did call the city because there's some really big gaps right on the Iowa School for the Deaf. And they did come out and put patches on quite a few. So I was fairly impressed that that happened.
A lot of times we
Yeah.
depend on folks to be the eyes and ears, because what is this, the city, 40 and a half square miles, I believe, about 300 miles of road, not kidding, that's just, vehicular road, so they can't always see it.
If there are other specific areas, I mean, we rely on citizen comment to let us know, because we're not always out there, so if there's anything other that you can think of, and specifically, if you could let us know, that would be great.
Well, I mean, for someone to come by and, to make sure that, oh, does this look okay? From 25th Street over to the bridge, that's full of debris, sticks, leaves. I mean, I know we just had a storm, but it's an obstacle course. It's a mess. I chose to go ride in Bellevue over the weekend because 40 miles of nothing but just straight, perfect. I don't want to have to go anywhere else to ride my bike when we have trails here, but so my 2 cents.
No, thank you so much.
Thanks.
Any other discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Pose same sign.
Resolution 14-161, authorizing the mayor and city clerk to execute an agreement with Bluffs Paving and Utility Company Incorporated for the North 27th Street Rehab Phase 1 project.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Discussion, please. Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Pose same sign.
Resolution 14-162, authorizing the mayor and city clerk to execute an agreement with the Iowa Flood Mitigation Board for the use of sales tax revenues from the Iowa Flood Mitigation Program for the levee and the Indian Creek Flood Mitigation Project.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any discussion on this item? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Pose same sign.
Resolution 14-163, approving or denying the installation of a temporary well for the use of operating a portable concrete plant for work in connection with the improvements to I-29 for consolidated concrete.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any discussion?
I just think it seems really like the thing to do. This is going to be a very temporary situation, couple of years. It's a temporary well that will be capped afterwards, and I think the variance is well founded to do it, so.
Anybody else? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Pose same sign.
Resolution 14-164, approving and adopting the Potawatomi County-wide multi-jurisdictional hazard mitigation plan.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any discussion?
My congratulations to the county and for the folks who put this plan together. It's not always a happy thing to get to read these sorts of things, because it goes through different really bad scenarios and talks about what our options would be if some of those bad things were to happen. It makes sense that we do some careful analysis of these things ahead of time. Having once been in this business myself, I took a look at this product and read it over, and thought they did a pretty fair job. And I think that this is a product that continue to be built upon for the future, because, as the mayor pointed out, our ultimate responsibility is to make sure that you all are protected, and this is a good step in that direction.
Any other discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Pose same sign.
Applications for permits and cancellations, 7A